This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, all you crypto boomers. We are back, the three amigos, Bud and George and Paul, all of us back, done traveling for at least a week, right, guys?
Right.
Yeah. So the binge life has been good, man. The binge life has been good. We were talking about it just before we started the podcast here about all the different sights to see and the fun things that, especially Bud sharing all the castle stuff. I don't know if you got to see that when you finally got service last week, George, but that was pretty cool.
I saw a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but we'll start getting into this a little bit, seeing some cryptos move and things like that, and a moratorium on evictions. Maybe have a little chat about that. But before we get started, make sure you click the subscribe button, the alerts button, the button, and all the buttons to make sure you get all the information whenever we release a video. And if you would share this, share it on your social media, and just get people more boomers to sign up and learn more about cryptos and other things that we are dealing with in this weird time in the world. So anyway, welcome guys. How's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, I'm not hitting the panic button yet. It's still
no.
No, I'm enjoying. I'm out on my my office outside today, so it might be a little bit of background noise, but I'm enjoying summer.
Man,
once again.
We are too. It's normally about 110 degrees here and 100% humidity. Not quite, but close. Feels like it's normally like that. But we are having an incredible week here. The weather is just absolutely gorgeous, so we're enjoying that too. So how about you, Bud? What's the weather like across the pond there?
Well, across the pond, you've realized the biggest icebreaker with British people is the talk about the weather. Normally we complain about it, but we're actually complaining it's too hot, right? So it's gorgeous. It's absolutely spectacular. It's like we've had the island uprooted and moved to Spain or the south of France. It's very European weather. It's just lovely. It brings a level of happiness around, when you have lovely sunlight, that you absorbs and keeps you warm, and you can spend evenings outside on the veranda or on the decking, having a beer and just thinking about how great life is.
Yeah, for sure. The sunshine does wonders for attitude, man. I tell you, it is so nice to have that sun shining down on your face and bringing in that or creating that vitamin D. It's something about it that it just changes the whole level of attitude, especially for me. My wife and I talk about that. She is the type of person that she needs that sunshine and warm weather just to feel, vibrant and full of energy. She's always working out and training people and stuff, and that really helps her kind of rejuvenate and get her energy back. So
I am with you, Paul, because I spent many a year in Seattle, and I finally said I have to leave. Like the summers are amazing, and the winters are, you just don't see the sun, and it's drizzle, and it's I have sad. Like I need the sun to rejuvenate, and I know that for myself. So I cannot be in a place where it is overcast in the summer or the winter for long periods of time, because I need that bright, beautiful sun that's beating down on me right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think Mark Twain said the coldest winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. It's
it is so true too. So true.
That Northwest. I can't do it, man. I just can't do it. I don't like being cooped up. I like the sunshine, and I would liken it an extended period of rain and cloudiness. We'll just segue right in. I would liken it to the market that we're in crypto right now. Just that kind of, bouncing along, within a range to the right. And I think, George, you said it before we got on air that You know, it sure would be nice to go to the right and up as
Yep.
opposed to the right. So anyway, we've got a couple of different cryptos though that are moving, and maybe some of the boomers have some of these. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bud, and you can kind of just share what you've got, and we'll just interject when we feel the need.
Yeah, I've got a few rays of sunlight, to keep the theme going. In the crypto market, there's now we're talking about the sun. They used to worship the sun. They also worship the moon, which is a little bit like crypto, when moon, so
That's so true.
we'll have to keep this theme going throughout the show today. Yeah, well, I pulled up Bitcoin here.
I still think there's a bright future for crypto.
Absolutely.
So.
Right.
Oh, Paul, I fell for that one too.
Come on, George.
Oh, man.
Just we'll have to see how many we can get out before the end of the show. So, well, Bitcoin's broken the 50 here, and it's bouncing along the 200. It looks like we're really hoping this 50 can cross the 200 here, and that would be quite familiar territory. Like we've often seen it where it does this kind of thing, death cross type thing, and then comes back and fools everybody in the market and continues to carry on. But I pulled up a few here that so in 2018, we had a lot of greed in the market, a lot of ICOs. I was buying like crazy. I couldn't get enough crypto into my wallet, and I've been holding some things for 3 to 4 years, and one of those is XYO, which I'll bring up here. And this is a crypto that does have a bright future, I've been told. You don't, again, like whenever we talk about these are on the fringes of crypto. Too many people make the mistake of going all in with like this kind of on the fringe crypto, trying to replicate what we've had in Bitcoin, over the years. And these are just like what our coach talks about, which are Italian dinners. I love that phrase, Italian dinners. Everyone has in their own mind how much an Italian dinner costs. So, a few years ago, I did put some money in this, and I've managed to free roll this. I just like having free rolled coins where I don't even have to think about it too much. And you can see that one has been bouncing along the 50, doing a little moonshot, coming back down, and today as we speak, it's continuing to go up. And if we actually measure that, that's a pretty reasonable increase today. Like it's let's move this screen a little bit down. I mean, these are like kind of normal for crypto, but 80%, in what 2 candles. So that's amazing, to see. I mean, how many years do you wait in the stock market to get up 80%?
Yeah. Let alone in 1 week or a couple days.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was one that was just kind of taken off. One thing we learn from our coaches, that is going up on a little bit less volume, so we have to see how that plays out. But I'm not really worried about it. When you free roll a coin, you have zero emotion about it. It's just one of those bets that it doesn't cost you anything. Free rolling
so
is just
when you talk about, just so that we can make sure that everybody understands what free rolling is, what do you mean by that, Bud? I mean, George and I know, obviously, but
yeah.
What do you mean?
Right. What I mean is that when you see a big pump in the market, like we had here, for instance, back in May, I took my coins off. I took a percentage off, enough to recoup the costs of the position. And then that left me enough so that the remainder is basically free money. So you take out the original costs that you put into the position on a big green day, and then the rest is free money, free rolling, and then you can basically just leave it. It didn't cost you anything, and you hope for that kind of really big moonshot where it's the 10,000% plus. But that's what I mean by free rolling. And
so it basically takes all the pressure off of that particular trade as far as emotional pressure, because you know that you really don't have anything invested at that point.
No, it's when it's free rolled, it means that it's cost you nothing, and
Yeah,
so that emotionally, you know you can never lose on that position. You
yeah,
really can't unless you invest more money. But and we also learn not to chase these things. So and also it doesn't it show you that you just never know when these things are going to pop. Like this thing, I mean, being in it for so many years, and look, all the way back, these tiny little pop, 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 but nothing much, and then suddenly, bang, sidestep, bang, a little bit of a correction, and now another pop up of 80%. So it's a phenomenal market, and but again, it's just a fringe position. It's only, and what this is showing me, guys, is that I do remember some of the turning events, where Bitcoin does turn and start to have a run. But before that happens, there were on the fringes some really obscure altcoins that have a big pop before then the main king starts to kind of rise. Do you remember those events?
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, yep, sure do.
yeah,
Um,
for sure.
There's another one here. I'll pull up one. I don't even know how I got this in my portfolio. I think I did some research once and maybe it was mentioned. I think it's one of the few that I may have even done an ICO on with possibly one Ethereum at the time. And this is Origo. But if you look at this this particular rise here. I know at the time there's a lot of volume coming in here, and I think my portfolio is saying it's like up 350% to this point here with a correction. But 350% in a day. That's what crypto can do.
Right, right. Well, on the other side of the coin, as far as free rolling and taking the emotional pressure out, I heard of one particular person, we won't use names, but when SHIB was brought up here, I don't remember, 6 months ago maybe. Do you guys remember? Is that about right? When we talked about SHIB and Jay brought us that trade. And anyway, this person obviously was not a member of the Bitcoin Academy because they went out and maxed all their credit cards and took a second out on their house and put it all in SHIB.
Oh,
And it's just asinine when when somebody does that. That's nothing more than gambling, and it's not even smart gambling. But can you pull up a SHIB chart? Because I want to show everybody in here, and this person may be on here, I don't know, or may watch this video. And if so, um, they're going to relive the emotion that they're dealing with right now. But look at that chart and recognize this person bought in. Do you guys remember when that was? When we got into that coin? I do know that we're down on it right now.
I'm down about 50. You know what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what I am down. I'm
Yeah.
down. If I could find it. I'm down about 54%.
Yeah.
So
And that's right in the same neighborhood as me. So
yeah.
just think about that. And if you're listening, I hope it works out for you. I certainly hope it works out for you. But just imagine the emotion that goes along with that when you take a second out on your house. And I don't know how much that was. Could have been 10,000, could have been 100,000. But also max your credit cards. And again, I don't know how much that was, but let's just assume that now they owe, they borrowed $100,000 and they have an asset that's worth $54,000 or $46,000 at this point, with no guarantee that it won't keep going down. And they're not diversified in the market. So just so many no-nos there that hopefully the boomers understand by now, especially those that have been listening, that is not something you do. That is absolutely not something you do. So converse to what Bud was talking about as far as free rolling and putting an Italian dinner in, letting it spike up, pull your Italian dinner, your initial investment out, and then let it free roll. Just just think about that and the stress-free trade that is, and go over to what this person did and how stressful it has to be on them right now, knowing that they now owe a second mortgage on their house and a couple of credit cards maxed out.
Yeah, no thanks.
No, I'll pass. I'll pass on that. So
But
anyway, I
it's
just want to,
understandable. I mean, it's human nature, and it's again what our coach has drilled into us. And you
yep,
know, it has taken years to learn this skill, but I mean, we all know that it's very, very hard to look at the emotion as this goes up. Shib, isn't it great to buy something going up, and then the following day you're seeing your profits, and it just feels great. There's no
yep,
doubt about it.
yep,
When it turns and drops like a stone, like that's the bit you just can't believe. Like it turns and it goes against you. And then so what you do is you double up. Oh, I'll go more in, and just all emotion. Whereas what I did on that example earlier is you go in when nobody's talking about the coin, nobody cares about it. Then you know, you take some profit out when it has a big spike, and then basically don't really put too much of your brain power into it anymore. So it's a skill, and you have to learn this skill with George and Jay over at the
yeah.
Bitcoin Academy.
Yeah. Well, and
Well,
you know,
enjoy.
just real quick, it's like, you know, we're still getting people getting memberships over at the bitcoinacademy.io. A lot of them are recommended by, you know, current members, but the initial, you know, the membership price is so well worth the price of admission, because if someone can understand that you do not go all in on a coin like SHIB, and you do an Italian dinner or 2 Italian dinners because you're going to take your wife or husband out, you know, that would save you, number one, a lot of stress in your life, and a lot of money. I mean, when you're getting into things new, you want to go with some strong horsemen,
Yeah,
not the fringe where I'm going all in and I'm gonna hope and pray, because that's all it is, because there's not that much history, and there's not the, you know, strong community behind it as compared to some of the other communities. That you really got to manage what kind of coins you invest in, and you need to understand that and not just guess.
well, and to your point, and one thing that Jay talks about is the person that wins doing that. Okay, so you can do that, and let's just say this person won, got in, you know, and made 10 times their money.
Yeah.
The problem is that they will lose it because they've learned nothing
Yep.
from that. It worked out for them, so guess what they're going to do next time? And so ultimately, you may win 5 in a row, but you are setting yourself up for failure because your trading plan is flawed. Period. It's flawed. So, and that's why it's so important to you know, to get the education that Jay and George have, because and the other, and I thought you were going to go somewhere else with that, George, and I'm gonna put this plug in. The other awesome thing is when you join the Bitcoin Academy, you're not joining for just future training. You can go in and search and get all the training,
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Let me make a point about that, Paul.
Yeah.
Like keeping with George's horse analogy there, I guess when people come in to like educate themselves about crypto, the natural human tendency is to say, look, I want to just shortcut a lot of this training. It's too much hard work. There's all those videos I have to watch, hours and hours, weeks and weeks. Yeah, let's just shortcut it. I don't need that training. I'm going to go and buy SHIB because it's going up. It's so obvious. So let me pile in here and invest everything and max out my credit cards, and I know I'll win. And what you're doing is you're shortcutting the process, a little bit like when I remember when I was younger going to Australia, and I'd never ridden a horse before, and they came up to me and said, "What level are you at horse riding?" And I thought, well, it's better to say it like I'm rodeo level. And so I said I'm as good as a rodeo, right? Because I was very confident. And I had this horse, and my wife will never let me forget it, because this horse just basically backed into the stable. I hit my head on the stable door, and I couldn't move the thing. I said, "How does this go?" But what I'm trying to make a point of is, like, I jumped the gun and went straight to, like, thinking I could just basically ride it as good as a rodeo. How hard can this thing be, riding horses? But I needed to, I missed out all the training. And I'm sure, George, you see many people that skip the training, the education, and go all in, and then realize that they've made a mistake.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and
And
it's true, because they don't have the history. It's like just trying to catch the front end and not knowing the history, because I can say things you're both going to just roll your eyes and be like, oh yeah, Dent. I learned so much buying Dent because I listened to someone else, because they had a secret inside source that Dent was just going to skyrocket. And and I put in too much in Medi,
I was
because
going
it
to say
was,
that one. Yep.
yeah, way, too much. It was probably an Italian dinner for half a city. And so, in that history of it, now I look and I'm like, okay, you know what? Some of the coins I don't invest in. And people say, well, Jay recommended it. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel comfortable. I'm not going to just follow someone because Dent showed me, and I'm not comparing Jay to anything, but like that. But it was like, I don't blindly follow someone. I have to feel comfortable. I have to know the coin. And, it's still like Casper I invested in, and I can't put it any place. But, it was definitely an Italian dinner. And so you really need to understand the, the, the coin that you're getting into and the whole process, and not just blindly follow someone, because it's their journey, not your journey. And you need to know your journey.
But look at
Absolutely.
my training over the last 3 years. So, like, you've brought up MediBlock, and I did the same thing as you, George. It's one of the first ones, I think, that I got very excited about, because I'd had this streak of winning when Jay was putting out trades, and so I did like you. And just back here, I mean, we don't have the full history, so we can't see the initial pump, but this thing dropped on me, and I remember going, right, I'll double my position. And you do something called rage trading, where you're like, right, I'm not going to lose, and you put more in, and then I put more in as well as it went down, thinking, oh, this looks cheap. Now look at what happened. 3 years, nothing. Now, with my new improved superpower of training and education of 3 years in the crypto market, this pump here, I'm out. I'm out on that highest peak there on Med. I just took my profit. Now clearly that could be a mistake. It might, come down here and then shoot up to the moon. But I feel good about getting out up here. And I just thought to myself, look at what I've learned, compared to my emotion and trading decisions and strategy over here. Now look at like with this new superpower that Jay and yourself gives us, George. Look at my decisions here, and that was all my own decision, not the group's. So I kind of feel proud of how far I've come, when you look back at this.
Well, I think in keeping with our theme, no matter how bright the sun shines, the sunset will come. How was that? That was pretty good, wasn't it? I mean, I'm sitting
He's
here
still
trying
on
to
it.
put it together, and I'm pretty proud of that one. So one of the things we talked about before we started recording was the eviction moratorium, and George and I have spoken about this some. My background's in property, and I think it's as long as you know what you're doing and you're familiar with the market you're in and the type of property, there's so many caveats to it. But I do think that ultimately some crypto winnings should go into property, should go into the right property. Um, and one of the things we've talked about was over the past, I don't know how long it's been, a year, that there has been an eviction moratorium to where if you couldn't pay your rent, the landlord could not evict you for not paying your rent. And the other part of that moratorium was on foreclosures on homes. And several months ago, my sister had a conversation with a banker that told her, my sister's husband had a conversation with their banker who told them at that point there were 50 million homes that were in arrears and would be foreclosed on as soon as the moratorium was lifted. Now that moratorium was extended through July 31st. In June, the Supreme Court heard the case and they agreed to let it go through July. But Justice Kavanaugh said that at that point, unless Congress intervenes, they would not be willing to allow an extension. In other words, no executive order or anything like that. Yesterday, the CDC came out, and don't ask me how they have the authority, but they came out and extended the moratorium to October, stating that it was for the hotspot counties, which ended up being about 90% of the United States. So anyway, a little story on this moratorium, just to kind of give you an idea of how these things get abused. A local realtor, a daughter had heard a story about a person that came in and paid $35,000 over the asking price on a home. Well, come to find out, the person that bought it moved from New York in the past year, although they were working and had a job and had the money. Because of the moratorium, they just decided not to pay their rent, knowing that they would not be evicted. So they amassed an extra $36,000. Their rent was $3,000 a month. So they amassed a $36,000 nest egg that they in turn left the apartment at not paying any rent for a year, and brought that $36,000 and bought a home in the middle of the United States and paid the extra to get it. And so she asked the realtor, she said, you know, that's nuts. And the realtor said, it's very, very common. We're seeing it all the time. These people have decided they want to get out of LA, New York, Chicago, blah, blah, blah. So they're not paying their rent or their mortgage, and they're coming in and bringing cash. I guess it's rent. That she said. So they're not paying rent, and they're amassing a nest egg for a year and a half, and they're bringing it to put down on a home in another part of the country that they do want to live in. So that's the kind of bullcrap that this type of moratorium, when the government gets involved, can bring. And so anyway, really the end point of the story is, for us in crypto, is at some point somebody's going to have to pay the piper, and every time they extend it, they're creating a bigger problem. And so there will come a time when all this gets washed out, and there are going to be deals in the real estate market for people that have you know, a substantial amount of money to invest. But you're going to need a lot of cash, because I have a feeling that loans and stuff, the whole lending on homes and on commercial lending is going to change because of all this. So just keep that in the back of your mind if you're wondering where you're going to go with some of your crypto winnings. That may be a place that will give an opportunity coming up in the future.
Yeah.
But Paul, I was going to ask you, being not a US national and not like based in the US, but I do pick up on some of the things. Is the argument then the CDC can get involved because they don't want people being evicted and spreading the virus around. Is that like the reason why they get involved?
Well, I have heard that the CDC supposedly has the authority in a pandemic to make the suggestion of a moratorium on evictions and things like that. I do not know that I've ever heard the reasoning behind it. But I'm very, how do I say this nicely? I'm very suspicious of any uh, government or and CDC isn't even a government organization, but any organization that is closely tied to the government making decisions, policy decisions that people don't think are politically motivated. So, and maybe it's not, maybe it's just my suspicious nature, but my dad always told me figures don't lie, but liars figure. And you can figure out ways uh, to spout reasons that will convince the masses that what you're doing is for the greater good. Let's just leave it at that. I don't know what their ultimate end is, and I do think, and believe me, I'm not heartless. I think that there are people that do need help, but uh, I think the perfect example is the few cases that I've seen, and I guarantee you they're not the only ones, that anytime you throw uh, a blanket solution over a problem, then people that don't have a problem are going to take advantage of that solution. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
Can
so
I ask
anyway,
as well then? Can I like the question is then, so if CDC have this authority because they don't want the virus spreading from people that are made homeless, so they do this moratorium thing. Why is the virus not spreading in amongst the homeless?
right.
The homeless that are clearly there's some hygiene issues, I would say. If you're not, what was it, with a shelter? There's these homeless camps, isn't there, in different cities
Mhm.
around? Why these populations not experiencing then, a dreadful kind of
And I had
mm,
heard the explanation of that as it being that because the homeless do not get tested, they don't seek medical attention, they don't seek medical help. They just, tough it out just like any other flu season or uh, any other illness, contagious illness. So I don't know. Maybe that is the situation where they're getting it, they're getting over it somehow on their own. I would think that untreated victims of the virus would be much higher likelihood of, especially, homeless people that don't have the best nutrition and healthcare. I would think they would be the highest risk, especially the highest risk of fatalities. But it hasn't borne out that way, so I really don't know the answer to that. You're asking a question that would require common sense, and I'm not sure there's a whole lot of common sense going on right now. So, as far as the CDC having the ability or the legal authority to uh, do the moratorium on evictions, I don't know that either. I'm not sure where they get that authority. Probably could look that up. People can fact check that, but
Well, and part of it is they may not even have the authority, because there have been times where people have, well, people or institutions have made statements, and they don't have the authority for that. Remember, in 2001, September 9/11, someone stepped up to the podium and said, "I'm in charge here." And he wasn't. Legally, he was not in charge.
yeah,
Or no, it wasn't. Was it 9/11, or was it Reagan being shot? I mean, just because someone steps up and says something does not give them the legal authority, because they are trying to take control.
Yeah.
And saying, just because they say it, people think that they'll believe him. So I don't really know if the CDC actually has the authority to do that.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't either. And I think the biggest weapon, or the biggest, I think they have authority by propaganda, and the propaganda is spouted by the news media in this country. And so, obviously that's going to piss some people off, but I don't trust these organizations where you can watch. There's several cases where they've done side by sides of hundreds of news stations spouting the exact same lines. It is a mockingbird media, and somebody is giving them their talking points. And so I'm not sure you can 100% trust a media that no matter what channel you turn it on, it is exactly the same questions, exactly the same headlines, exactly the same issues. And so I don't know. I just don't know. It's a weird world we live in, but I will say that at some point, it's going to come home to roost. And these evictions and moratoriums, and the more importantly, the foreclosures are going to be a problem. And so thank God we're in crypto, and maybe we'll be able to take advantage of it. I know that sounds heartless, but at the same time, you know what? It is what it is. I heard something the other day that during this pandemic and during the shutdown, the top 20% income earners, so they didn't say income, they said the top 20% wealthiest people gained, and I forget what the number was, but gained the most in wealth over the past 18 months.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other way you could say it, though, Paul, is the sun will stop shining at some point. So
there you go. That's right. It will. The clouds and the rain will come.
Yeah, but just picking up on George's point with people just stepping up, one of the things that I've been doing a lot of research on, I've spent about 150 hours so far and doing more, is the whole DeFi space. I know we've mentioned it on this show before, and just to kind of tease people that I am doing this intensive research. I know you and I talked about this, George, and at some point we want to educate people in one of the modules on DeFi. But DeFi is so beautiful because different people step up, and it's decentralized by nature. So it's like the octopus, that you kind of cut one leg off, and it continues to thrive, and another leg grows. And that's exactly the decentralized nature. And that's why we are in crypto, because it is robust and decentralized, and it has these abilities. So like you have all these different people in crypto, don't you? Stepping up at certain points, saying I'm in charge now. So we've got Elon at the moment, who supposedly is leading the price, and pushes it around. But we've had different people that come and go over the years. It's been incredible to watch.
Don't you guys think that ultimately, whether Bitcoin continues to be the king for the next 30 years or not, the technology is here to stay. There is no doubt that the technology is going to continue to get better. And it is the direction of, DeFi. It is the direction of the smart contracts and all that. Wouldn't you guys agree with that, regardless of what Bitcoin does?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. I mean, I've seen some major technology come into place, and I would say the biggest one was back in '96, when I saw the internet come into place, and I thought, well, oh my goodness, it was like AOL, and it was Prodigy, and all the others, where they were their own little intranet that you would dial into, and it had some amazing things, and data, and fun games. that was just the precursor to what we have today, which is, a worldwide network that connects just about everything. And I think we're going to see that with the crypto space, where the smart contracts, where, instead of, like, a perfect example, and I can't wait to see it. But when you buy a property, when you buy a house,
Yes.
all of that could easily be put into a smart contract
Yep.
and kept track of, and you don't have to pay these huge fees for a title company. And in fact, because it's all public, you should be able to get onto the smart contract that's holding that property and see everything that there is about the property. I mean, it's so antiquated the way we're handling it now, that I see that as that is one that is just ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I I would agree with that. And you mentioned AOL and the internet. I think that is a perfect analogy because AOL was the king. AOL was the Bitcoin of the internet at that time, and it's since gone away. I mean, it's probably still around, but it's not the king anymore. But yet the internet has continued to morph into and grow into something so much more than it was when AOL was the king.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the big difference this time around, and this is for the crypto boomers, is that this time we can profit from
Yes.
the growth of networks. Whereas the growth of a network, who were the people that profited from Facebook? It was the early shareholders.
Yep.
Who are the people that are going to profit from, some of these that we've talked about, XYO, for instance? I mean, it's the early adopters, the early investors. It's us. We are early to this game.
Yeah.
Crypto's hard to understand. It really is. And you have to put the effort in. But when you do, there's no turning back. There's no putting it back, putting the genie back in the bottle. It's definitely here to stay. It's
Yep.
just that how it integrates into the, the modern world.
Yeah. And but it's funny that you say that, because how many letters have you written on a piece of paper and put into a mailbox to send to somebody, besides birthdays and a holiday?
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I did it that wasn't business related, that wasn't this and that. And so the people that want to take the shortcut with the crypto side of things, they are shortcutting themselves, because you need to know how to turn on a modem, how to use email, how to use the basics of the internet that now we're all taking for granted. No one has a typewriter. Everything is done electronically. If you want to
Yeah.
shortcut yourself in crypto, you're not going to understand what you're doing in the future. So, you're shortcutting yourself and no one else, because all of a sudden you get to this point, and I do talk to some people at this point. They're like, I don't understand why I have this or where I put that. I'm like, you've been in crypto for a long time. Like, how don't you understand this? You're just getting, in my mind, obviously, Jay says to buy here and sell here, but you don't understand what you're doing.
Yeah. 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 I think it's better to learn to fish as opposed to rely on someone else to give you a fish. I mean, that's for sure an important skill to have, especially in this market, the ability to invest, because Jay's not going to be here forever. He's already said that. And certainly Bud is I would say, one of his top students as far as being able to articulate what he has learned. I'm thankful that we have Bud here with us
Absolutely.
on a weekly basis, because Bud is very, very good at articulating what he has learned over the past 3 or 4 years, and it just shows people what, because Jay could go away tomorrow and Bud would be fine. You would be fine, George. I would be fine. I wouldn't like it. There is a certain amount of safety blanket, I guess, there. Plus, he's a good friend, certainly. But but at the same time, it would not end our crypto journey, if that makes sense. So
Yep.
the best thing anybody can do is to invest in yourself. Go out there, get the education. The links below the video. The other part of that is use the link for Caleb and Brown here. If you do not have your Caleb and Brown account set up, I would encourage you to do that, because when cryptos do start moving back up and it's time to sell, it's too late for you to do that because they're too busy at that point. This is a good time. This lull has been a good time to get signed up with Caleb and Brown. Now, if you have just a few $1,000s in the market this time around, it's probably not as critical. But you know, if you're going to get out of the market with 50,000, 100,000 or more, I would suggest that you guys go ahead and click the link down here and get it set up with Caleb and Brown, because you're going to want the ability to you know, to have a broker that knows what they're doing, can execute the trades based on your specific instructions. I think that's real important. So anyway, anything else you guys want to say to finish up the video today?
I think I'm good to go.
Yeah, I would
But
say, Paul, you can teach someone to fish, but the most important thing is to fish on a really sunny day.
Oh man, and with that, we will just let that marinate, and we will see you guys next week. Never forget that it's not just about investing, it's about creating wealth. Talk later. See you guys.